Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth from Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Happy holidays if you celebrate in December to everyone. So this month of December 2025, which I'll be covering in this video, covers two moons. There's a full moon in Gemini and a new moon in Sagittarius. Plus, we also have Mercury going out of shadow during this time period, right mid-month. So as usual, I'm going to go over an intro of the different transits and aspects and moons, and then I'll go on to the latter part of this video to cover your individual signs, whether it's your ascendant and or sun. I suggest you listen or watch both. So we're going to start off here with a full moon in Gemini. This is going to be at 13 Gemini, 3 minutes on the 4th of December, and it will be at 3:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sun and the moon will be square the north nodes. So this kind of puts a little bit of a challenge here with regards to us wanting to move forward with our destiny path. I suspect this may work out on the world stage where, because the moon and the sun are opposite each other, they're already, not necessarily in conflict, but they're opposing each other and saying, I think this, you think that. And square in the north nodes is saying we're not on the same page with regards to our destiny path. And certainly Gemini is all about communications. It rules other things too, like short distance travel. But generally speaking, I'm going to say that whatever communications are being put out, especially on the world stage, they're not dovetailing with each of the separate parties. And that's what I would say is a dominating theme here. There's going to have to be some compromise, right? Now, when we look at the decan that moon is in Gemini, the full moon, it is in the second decan. And of course, the second decan of air signs is going to be Libra from Gemini. And of course, Venus rules Libra. So Venus has a little bit of a part to play here. And I think it's a nice influence because, as I've said before, Venus likes to take the rough edges off things. It likes to have good manners. It likes to be polite. And it likes things sweet. It is also an attractor. So to me, this is saying, again, on that world stage, this Venus can make things nicer. So it's like, yeah, we're not agreeing here on things. And maybe it's contracts. Maybe at a personal level, it's contracts. But that Venus is going to say, we can compromise. Let's compromise here. Let's talk about it. Let's add a little bit of sweetness. Let's respect each other. And certainly Gemini is what's called a mutable sign, just as Sagittarius is mutable. So it kind of sets up the whole month of at least potential for cooperation or changing your mind. Now, we have Mercury in Scorpio. It will be widely trining Jupiter in Cancer. And that's actually really nice too. Now, we do have Mercury that is going direct now. It's not out of shadow yet at this full moon, but it is moving forward. And I think trining Jupiter, here I think Jupiter is going to be expanding whatever message that Mercury is bringing at that full moon. And it could be secrets because Mercury is in Scorpio. Scorpio is the natural detective. It's what is hidden. I think those are going to be brought to light. Now, that Jupiter in Cancer can represent what? It can represent, on an individual level, our family, our mother, literally our homeland and our home. So these may be subjects that are brought up and brought to light. Out of the darkness comes that candle lighting things up. Now, the other player here is Mars. Mars is going to be square to Saturn. And that kind of reinforces what I talked at the beginning here of this full moon, of the moon and the sun square in the north nodes. That Mars wants to move forward with something. And the rules and regulations, or those that hold the rules and regulations, are saying not right now. This equates to a delay in moving forward. We have nicely in the background, Uranus is sextiling Neptune, and Neptune is sextiling Pluto. Now, these outer planets are going to be, playing out in the background in one way or another over the next few years. And it's positive, right? Sextiles brings opportunities. And when we have trines just makes energy flowing. So this is really saying at this full moon, even though there may be some differences to overcome and some compromises to make, we've got going on in the background. As we do that, things will have the opportunities to build to help transform our lives. Part of that transformation may be some new, inroads into forms of technology, like how we communicate. It could even be, things above the earth, where we talk about, the solar system is somehow brought in here as well. But certainly Neptune is being featured here by sextile. And Neptune at its highest wants to make our dreams come true. It inspires us. And so I think with the background here of that going on, it says to me, compromise is important at this full moon, but also understanding what you're getting into with regards to communications. And of course, that can spell out contracts. It can spell out to anything to do with a lease, say, that you're taking. And certainly on a world stage, this could be treaties and things like that. Now, on the 9th of December, again, we've got Mars featured here, still square to Saturn. But then Mars is going to be squaring up with Neptune on the 14th of December. So this kind of says to me, again, there's these delays happening up here to mid-month. And maybe it's telling us, let's think this through a little bit more. Let's not be rash, that's for sure. If you are feeling this overwhelming, I've got to move forward with whatever it is, and the moving forward may be to break the rules, I would think twice about that. Now, certainly Mars square Neptune can be a difficult transit, and this can be real deception here. And that's on the 14th of December. Expect that to play out on the world stage for sure. And the other thing that Mars can do, it can be a very aggressive energy, right? Smashing our dreams. Neptune, right? That's at Mars square Neptune. Or what we thought was real, right? Which is, more the Saturn part of it. That's the Mars square Saturn, isn't. So it's this combination of here between the 9th and the 14th of December to pay attention to what you want to move forward with, or where you're being really encouraged to move forward with something, but you're either being stopped, someone's stopping you, or you look at rules and regulations or check in with those that have the authority or to move forward with things. And it says there's going to be a delay here. I would say if that is happening for you, try to understand what the delay is. Dig into what are these rules and regulations? Why is the delay happening? And like I said, we've got this whole 2 moons that are in mutual type energies. So it's the ability to bend here is there all month. When we come up to the 16th of December, well, that is when Mercury is officially out of shadow. And that's going to be at 6 Sagittarius, 49 minutes, at 7:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, what's nice in this is that we're going to have a grand trine. And the grand trine is with the moon, which is at 23 Scorpio, with 23 Cancer is going to be the Jupiter part of it. And then that is going to be trining Saturn, which is in Pisces. So this says grand trine in water signs. So certainly this is an emotional time, the 16th of December. But it's also a time when I feel that we're going to literally be feeling things. And I think this feeling is going to be an optimism. And I refer to optimism because this Mercury is going out of shadow at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a very optimistic sign. So I feel here that this is a good feeling time once we have this Mercury now out of shadow with that grand trine in water. The only thing is that, we can be a little too emotional. But this is a trine, a grand trine. And so it is free-flowing energy, beautiful energy here. When we look at the 19th of December, well, we've got that new moon in Sagittarius. 28 Sagittarius, 25 minutes. And it is at 5:44 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it will be conjuncting Mars, which will be out of sign and will be at 3 degrees of Capricorn. So this is just adding a lot of energy. But, Mars in Capricorn can be considered energy, not, wow, let's move forward with this. So I think that Mars can temper any extreme optimism that some people might have, or a wish to, say, take a big risk. That Mars is going to weigh it up for you and say, is this the right time to do that? Have you, dotted your I's and crossed your T's? The ruler of this sign, of course, is Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And at this time, Jupiter will be providing, it's a wide trine with Saturn that's still in Pisces. So that's a beautiful energy here. It's expanding the ability to put new rules in place, to maybe remove some things that were holding you back. That's also Saturn. And the square that we have that's happening with Saturn is going to be with Venus. Well, both Venus and Jupiter tend to be good feeling type energy planets. And so I think even with this Venus square Saturn, I think still Venus is going to be operating here to say, yeah, okay, so everything's not perfect, but there are some sweet spots here. So look for sweet spots at that new moon in Sagittarius. It could also be for those that are in, say, in early stages of a love relationship, there could be a delay, literally, or there could be a rethinking of a relationship here on a more personal level. On a more global level, the Venus could represent money. And so there may be the piper to pay here with regards to the square to Saturn. Mercury will also be forming a square at this new moon in Sagittarius with the North Node, Chiron, and North Node, and Chiron will be squaring Jupiter. And so this speaks to, the future of our health. And there's going to be some news about it. And this news may actually involve, foreign people and foreign things, more than just our own country, right? Yeah. Now, this new moon in Sagittarius is in a fire sign. So we look at what decan is it in. It is in the third decan. The third decan starts at what? 20 degrees. And the third decan is ruled by Leo, which is also a fire sign, of course. And that fire sign of Leo is ruled by the sun. And I really thought, and also at this time, obviously the sun is in Sagittarius along with the moon. So this says to me, this is a very optimistic overall new moon in Sagittarius. But I think also with that whole Leo influence and the sun ruling Leo, it says to me that some probably man of importance is going to be rising here and bringing us big optimism, maybe even more than one man. Now, this is, of course, Sagittarius or Sagittarius ascendant. This is your new moon of the year. So happy new year to you, Sagittarius. I saw this really as an overall, except for a few squeaks here and there, paying attention to, rules, regulations. It basically says to me this is going to be a big ushering in of an optimism that we haven't had for some time. On the 21st of December, we're going to have Venus in Sagittarius squaring Saturn. Now, we talked about that already. I don't see this as a really negative thing. I think it's just saying, on a personal level, this is just saying, hold your horses. Just look carefully at what? Look carefully at spending money. This is just before Christmas for some people. Look carefully with regards to maybe a love situation that you're in. And look carefully at your value and maybe even at an internal level of, am I valuing myself enough? Am I being too hard on myself? Now, the Venus in Sagittarius really is a lovely influence with regards to potentially giving us great optimism with regards to money, maybe wanting to spend money. So when we look at this chart here for the winter solstice for 2025, it occurs on the 21st of December at 7:03 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, this is when the sun is at 0 degrees of Capricorn and 0 minutes. Now, accompanying this sun going into the sign of Capricorn, we have two other planets and luminary that are also in Capricorn. We have Mars at 4 degrees of Capricorn within orb of that sun. Now, the positive part of this is that Mars, planet of action, movement forward, in Capricorn, has some momentum that is measured. So that's what Capricorn does. It'll slow this down a little bit, the actual Mars effect, and have some conservative type energy put into the mix. Accompanying that, although not conjunct, is the moon, also in conservative Capricorn. And so this can certainly make our feelings more conservative, have us take a more measured view of how we react to things. This effect will last approximately 3 months or so until we get to our next type of energy, where the sun will actually go into Aries and start the whole cycle all over again. Negatively, we have got this sun at 0 degrees of Capricorn square to Neptune, which is at 29 degrees and 24 minutes of Pisces. So this says to me that there may be some information from, say, our news outlets that is just not true, that is being covered up, that there's some kind of shadiness going on, and that we have to look carefully at anything that's put in front of us in terms of, say, newspapers, anything on the internet, because it could be leading us down to a confusion or some kind of deception. So overall, I see this winter solstice as more of a conservative type energy that's being given out here, and more measured in terms of how we want to move forward with things. And don't forget that Saturn does rule Capricorn, and that Saturn represents rules and regulations. So it does say paying attention to rules and regulations also during this time period of about 3 months from the 21st of December. Now, a few days later, on the 24th of December, that Venus, still in Sagittarius, will be square Neptune. It could have us saying, gee, I really want to, be inspired by some maybe sparkly bauble of some sort, but you don't have the money there. So I guess if you're listening to this early on, say in November when I'm making this, there is a little bit of a cautionary tale with regards to money, generally speaking, and being careful about spending it wisely. I guess that's just the overall thing. So, hey, look at what money you have. Look at what money you have in December and how you're going to spend it. That's how I would take those squares with Venus, by the way. Now, the 25th of December, and for some folks, that is going to be Christmas Day, we have Mercury that is going to be an optimistic Sagittarius. But we're also going to have a big influence of Capricorn. So tempering this optimism is also going to be this Capricorn, which is more conservative. So I think 25th of December is going to bring great optimism with regards to any changes that we might need to make, or any changes that are happening in structures around us, whether that's structures in our government, structures in what we deal with day to day. There's certainly going to be a sense of I feel better here. And this is the second time I'm saying we're going to feel better. First one was at the new moon in Sagittarius on the 19th of December. On the 25th, we're going to have another infusion, right, of that optimism, that things for our future are going to get and are better. When we take a January 2026 peak, we're going to have a full moon in Cancer, a new moon in Capricorn. And what's interesting to me is that we're going to have this interesting setup where 0 degrees of Aquarius and 3 degrees of Aquarius are going to be featured with regards to the interpersonal planets. I'll talk about that more in January, but the latter half of January 2026 could have some really big breakthrough energy, because Aquarius, of course, is about freedom seeking. It's all about humanitarian things, but it's all supportive here. And so there could be some big turnaround the latter half of January. Talk about that more next month. And we're also going to have, at that time in January, Neptune will officially go for some years into Aries, another big shift, right? It's taking our dreams at the very least and going with what we want. What are our dreams? And saying, let me move forward with my dreams, right? The me, my is the Aries part of it. And of course, the Neptune is our dreams. So let's move on now to the individual sun signs and or ascendants. As I mentioned, I would look or listen to rather, or watch for both. Start off with your ascendant if that resonates with you. That gives you the actual house or the area of your life. Then listen to the sun sign. That just gives you a little bit more information with regards to maybe some of the more details. The sun is the most important thing in any chart. So Aries, this is a good setup for you this month. You have the full moon in Gemini sextile you, and it involves your third house. So this is opportunities to communicate. This might be a culmination for some Aries that you've been maybe working on improving your presentation skills. I've taken many of these courses, whether I wanted to or not. You always learn something with it. Where it's ending and you see that, okay, I don't have to take any more of this brushing up my presentation skills. I'm ready to go. And you get the opportunity to stop taking all this improvement. The other thing it can bring up as a literal translation is, for some Aries, you end some kind of writing project. Certainly that is very Gemini. You end negotiating a contract of some sort. It can also have you ending maybe some kind of negotiations with your siblings, with your neighbors. And it could be tied in with something like a contract or an agreement of some sort too. I mean, sales and commerce are also featured in the third house. So there'll be some Aries that are finishing off setting up some sales and commerce type project too. For still others, it might be an opportunity for you to stop doing short distance travel. Maybe you're involved in sales or marketing and you're required to go around a certain geographical area. And they say you've got an opportunity here to stop that. Would you instead like to travel overseas now? And that ties into the new moon in Sagittarius, which trines your sign and trines the house that Sagittarius and Jupiter rule, which is the 9th house. So this is super positive for you, Aries. If you have to travel, or you have to or want to do business overseas or work with foreign people around that 19th of December, when the new moon in Sagittarius happened, you are fully supported. And don't forget, the first few weeks of December, in that 9th house of yours, it's very active with both Mars, Venus, and Mercury in Sagittarius too. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of activity, maybe negotiations the first half of December for a lot of Aries. That'll follow up around the 19th, where those are concluded and a new start can happen with some connection with foreign people, some connection with overseas travel, and potentially some positive new start regarding legal matters, or if you're going into, say, get something published. That's also featured very positively here. So the publishing part of it could have the first half of December, you contacting different publishers. They're contacting you, you're back and forth, you're negotiating. And then finally at the new moon, around the 19th of December, a publisher comes through and says, all right, we can publish this. That is a positive outcome too. But you're set up nicely for communications, presenting, writing projects, working with foreign people, foreign lands in this month of December, Aries. Take care. All right, everybody. That's my wrap up for December. Again, I'm wishing everybody lots of positive, happy energy for this month of December. Get out and enjoy yourselves over this holiday season. I think a lot of people will have at least days off. Some people have a week off. Plan something fun for yourself, and plan something that really nurtures you. That's what I'm thinking here. Plan something that really nurtures you. But do socialize. You know, we've got 2 social moons, the Gemini for sure, but also Sagittarius. These are both mutable signs. They can bend, they can change their minds, they can be helped to change their minds, but they do like to socialize and have fun. All right, everybody, take care of yourself. If you do want your chart done, this might be a good time to do it just prior to the new year starting. I will be putting together my 2026 forecast soon for each of the individual signs. Stay tuned for that. All right. Take care. Lots of love, and bye for now.